Hey Taurus, how's it going? I got some oracle messages for you here. I saw in my meditation a sunflower that grew quite quickly, but the stem snapped and it fell over, and all the seeds popped out, and the seeds grew little legs and ran in all directions and planted themselves in the soil, and they all grew into a few dozen, maybe a couple hundred sunflowers. And when the sunflower snapped, it had like this feeling that I knew that was gonna happen. It felt like, oh, whatever, no big deal. And the first thing I thought of after that was sand art, the sort of Buddhist sand art where they make a big mandala out of colored sands, and then when they're done, they destroy it. They either use these big brushes and just wipe the sand off, or they carry it to a river and dump it into a flowing river. And it's, the temporary nature of creation is symbolized in that activity. And also, in order for things to grow and be born, usually something has to die first. Sunflower becomes heavy with its seeds when when the seeds are ready to fall off and be used for either food or to grow more sunflowers, and it gets very, very heavy and it falls over. And it knows this is going to happen. It's part of its life cycle. So sometimes in order for our ideas and our goals to really take shape, we have to let them go. We have to not really be attached to them, not be attached to the idea of them especially. The idea of our desires and the way we think about it, the way we want them to unfold and appear in our lives generally is not the way that they do. They appear in a different form that is more unexpected. And the idea of it dies, but the desire is still fulfilled. Our conception of it is destroyed, but the way, even though it shows up differently, it still fulfills the same desire. Maybe there's something like that that needs to be reflected on. Because I pulled an I Ching hexagram for you, and I got hexagram 39, hardship, with the fourth changing line. It changes to mutual influence, hexagram 31. So maybe 39 and 31 are important. So here we have the elements of water on top of mountain. And water generally symbolizes darkness. It also symbolizes a difficulty, because crossing a river, is difficult. Crossing an ocean, it's something like that. And mountain is stillness. And mountain being the bottom part of this hexagram is the inner part. Water being the upper part, it's the outer part. So here we have this idea of darkness, unknowns in the outer world, and stillness within. Or that this darkness, these unknowns, this sort of hardship and danger in the external world requires stillness from you at this point. And it's just yielding to the situation and waiting for the proper time to act, waiting for the proper time to move forward. It's not giving up, it's just understanding that to move forward now would probably not work out. There are too many unknowns, there's too much risk, there's too many things going on, too many conflicts of interest at this time, and it's best to go within and examine ourselves if we can. If our desires are not being met in the external world, we have to look within ourselves and examine our desires. We have to examine ourselves in every way. When what we want is not being fulfilled, we need to turn within and find out why. Like, if we're acting polite to people and they're not responding with politeness, we need to look within and look at our own politeness. When we act with love toward people and they're not responding with love, we need to look within ourselves and look at our own love. We need to understand our motivations and why our inner life is not being reflected in our outer life. And sometimes in order to do this, at this time with this hexagram, there's the advice of seeking a great person. Seeing a great person brings good fortune. So during this time, it's a good opportunity to seek counsel, advice, or wisdom from someone. It could literally be from a person you know. It can be from books or written by wise people, or written by anybody really. Anything you're called to study at this time. It could be from trying to communicate with your higher self or your spirit guides, but seeing a great person at this time and seeking counsel and advice would be very fruitful, because it's a time for like a tactical retreat. It's a time for regrouping and reorganizing. And it's a time for not resigning yourself to this fate. Hardship is unavoidable in life. Now, there are some hardships we can avoid, and there are some that we cannot. And we don't have to resign ourselves to that fate. We just have to be patient, look for more auspicious opportunities as they come, and reconfigure what it is we want. Examine our own desires for what we want, and maybe discover other ways of fulfilling that same desire. Perhaps you don't need that specific goal to be achieved, but you can scratch the same itch with a different goal. And you can discover all these different parts about yourself, understanding the mechanism of your desire and how to fulfill it, and allowing it to be fulfilled in different and unexpected forms. That it doesn't have to be fulfilled in the way that you think it should. It can be fulfilled in many different ways, and you might not know what way that will be until it happens. So taking the time now to open yourself up to those possibilities, to accept the unknowns, and wait for the opportune time to move forward with that new mentality. Perhaps the auspicious time that you're waiting for to step forward is going to be the time when you've fully cultivated and integrated that new mentality, that you're now open to having your goals changed, so long as they still bring fulfillment, and you're willing to act toward those different activities, those different goals, experience those different activities, experience a different path, because it's going to give you the same satisfaction, it's going to give you the same upliftment as the thing you imagined. So I'm going to pull some cards for you and develop this reading further. So what does Taurus need to know? Stop pointing at anything. I should have made this a circle instead of an Enneagram. What does Taurus need to know? Actually, it still wouldn't have worked. Too many spaces. Okay, we have the alchemical symbol for the earth. Yeah, that's the earth, yeah. The upside down triangle with a horizontal line through it. And when I was shuffling this, the King of Wands wanted to show up. Or the Knight of Wands, rather. So yeah, there could have been something unexpected that changed a goal, or obstructed a goal from being achieved, or obstructed something from moving forward. Something that came in really, really fast and hot. So here we have the Four of Cups, or in this deck it's called Blended Pleasure. Now this kind of agrees with what I was saying in that your goal can be achieved in many different superficial forms. The goal that you have is deeper within you. It's not a specific material gain that you want. It's not a specific experience you want to have. It might be like a state of mind you want to achieve, a state of emotionality, a state of consciousness, or some type of satisfaction, or something along those lines. The goal is more of an internal goal, and the external way of achieving it is not super important. There could be any number of things that you can do that will have you achieve this internal goal. And you have to keep your eyes open for those opportunities, not neglect an opportunity because you think it doesn't suit you. There are many roads that can lead us to our goal, and they might seem superfluous or unimportant. An opportunity might come our way, and we might just say, no thanks, I'm not interested. Even though we are fully capable of following through with this opportunity, we have all the skills and knowledge necessary, we have the time, we have whatever resources, internal and external, that we need to follow this opportunity, but we just say, no, I don't feel like doing that, that's not what I want to do. Whereas, in fact, that opportunity may lead you to what you actually want to do. You know, I've done things, I've had opportunities to just go somewhere and do something with someone, and my laziness was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't really feel like it. Or my preconceived notions are like, I'm not sure if I want to do it. But, you know, I did it anyway. And when I went to that place, I met someone who offered me an opportunity that I actually wanted to take. So if I didn't take this first opportunity, I would have never gotten the real opportunity. So a lot of the times when things come to us that are not at all what we're interested in, they do lead to what we're interested in. And you're not going to get opportunities unless you interact with the world, you interact with people, with society, with serendipity. You know, if something inspires you to like just go out and go to the park one day, then you should go out and go to the park. It might seem like a superfluous, unimportant activity, but something might happen in the park that puts you on the path that you need. You know, this card is a card of ignoring serendipity, especially when it comes out on the element of Earth. This is like real, actual events and moments in our lives, real opportunities that are actually like, spend your day doing this. And we ignore serendipity at our own peril, at our own cost. You know, she, I don't even know, it's not a Greek goddess, it's just a made-up word. I always consider serendipity to be a Greek goddess. It just sounds like one, but it's not. It's an invented word from the 18th century. But anyway, ignoring serendipity it's like a gut punch, you know, when you realize later, like, oh, what if that was actually a good thing to do? So you don't want to have those moments where it's like, oh man, I rejected that opportunity, and like, I haven't had any opportunities in a year since then. Nothing has come to my doorstep, but that came to my doorstep, and I said no to it because I thought something better was going to knock on my door, and nothing better did. You know, this happens a lot to people where they reject this opportunity and that opportunity. That's not the opportunity I want. That's not the opportunity I want. And they wait and wait and wait for the opportunity that they think they want, and it never shows up. And then, you know, you're SOL. So that's happened to me a lot in my life, and I've said, you know what? No, I'm going to take every opportunity. Somebody calls me up and says, "You want to do this?" I'm going to go do it. You know, I don't care what it is generally, because I'm just open to, you know, maybe that meandering path is going to bring me to some interesting thing that I actually do want. So I try not to turn my back on any opportunity, even if it is sometimes overwhelming or difficult. I've admitted that I don't know how my desires should unfold in the physical world, nor do I think any of us truly have the power to make our desires appear in the way we want. Like, I don't know about all that manifestation stuff where you think about something and you make your vision boards and stuff and it's going to show up exactly as you imagine it. I don't know. I'm not sure how much I believe in that kind of stuff. I think desires get fulfilled, but not the way you think they will. But, you know, that's just my opinion. I just think being attached to outcomes it runs against all traditional spirituality. You know, we've had spiritual traditions that go back since the dawn of mankind itself. And then we have like these weird 19th and 20th century New Age beliefs that just fly in the face of all of the traditions. That, you know, the traditions say it happens in ways you don't expect. You can't be attached to the outcomes. You have to just do the effort, and the outcome will come in a way you don't expect. And then the New Age and Theosophy and everything that came from Theosophy and afterward is like, no, be attached to the outcome. Think about it in every detail possible. Become extremely attached to the outcome. So I don't know. I'm going to take 3.5 million years of tried and true tradition with repeatable, replicable, predictable results, or are you going to take something that's less than 200 years old and fly with that? It's It's your choice. I'm triggering every New Ager in the audience right now. Here I got analysis. So in stillness, we have great opportunities for analysis. Again, if things aren't going your way in the external world, we have to look within and ask ourselves why. If we feel all these blockages and obstructions in the external world, we have to look within ourselves and see if there are blockages and obstructions there. And we also just have to see why these blockages and obstructions are occurring in the external world. Perhaps there's some easy, mundane, physical thing that you're just not seeing. There's some numbers that need to be crunched, or some situation that needs to be looked at from a different perspective. Another opportunity to ask for advice from people who might be aware of the situation, or to whom you can speak about the situation, or appraise them of it and ask them for their help. And getting another set of eyes on this this thing will open up new perspectives for you. I also got the idea of learning a new language. That just flew in real strong. Maybe there's a new language you need to learn, literally like from another culture, or a new programming language, or a new way of communicating. But one of the best ways to see things from other perspectives is to learn a new language from a different country, a different culture. Because every race of people, every culture, sees reality differently. I know it's kind of hard for people to believe, but speaking several languages myself, there's no better way to get into the soul of a person, of another culture, of another race, than to actually learn their language. You start to perceive the way their minds work. You learn how their logic works. You learn how they perceive time. You learn how they perceive space. You learn how they perceive emotions. You learn how they perceive consciousness and thoughts. You learn how they perceive concepts like self and other, or this and that, or mine and yours, and things like that. Every culture has slight nuances in this way that are different, have different logic and different perceptions of these things. And learning their language reveals this to you, because how we speak shows how we think about these things. You know, for example, in English, we have very complex language regarding time. Like, this will have happened by Sunday. This will have happened by Sunday. Will have happened by Sunday. That is 4 words referring to the passage of time with very specific detail. There are other languages like Russian that have nothing even close to that. They don't give a damn about your sequence of events and the specificity and detail. They're not interested in such detail and sequential thinking. Their thinking is less linear, a little more wibbly wobbly, a little more cyclical, or at least like a sine wave. And you start to realize that Russians perceive time differently than English speakers or Westerners. There's all sorts of stuff like that that you can analyze. And sitting in stillness and learning these things, you know, this coming out on the element of Earth is why I say it, because also when I think of the element of Earth, I think about the planet, just like the whole cultural, you know, humanosphere of all the people that exist here, and all the differences amongst us, and really contemplating those differences. That's such a good way of learning, of expanding our minds, expanding our perceptions, is learning a new language. And you become more compassionate, more empathic, more knowledgeable. Your mind becomes wider, and you can see things from other perspectives, and you can come at problems from different perspectives. You know, you can think about problems in different languages. You can think about your emotional and psychological issues in different languages and come to different conclusions. It's very, very interesting when that happens, when you can begin thinking in different languages, and you can compare the same problem, think about the same problem from different languages, thinking about it with different languages. And you come to different understandings about it. It's really cool when you can do that. So perhaps that's something that some of you want to try out. All right, Taurus. I'm going to pull a token for you. One last thing to round out this reading. So we have Neptune, the planetary symbol for Neptune, and the number 10. So 10 is a number of like, it's unity and wholeness. You know, it's not just a completion of a cycle, because technically 9 could be a completion of a cycle and the beginning of a new cycle. This is like a state of sort of permanence, the number 10. And, oh, is this Uranus? Oh my God. I'm having a brain fart. Is this Neptune or Uranus? Jeez Louise, what is wrong with me? Anyway, they can both have to do with expanding the mind and absorbing information, which was the point I was going to get to. Whether it's Neptune or Uranus, there's still that sort of telepathic, mind expansion thing going on with both those planetary functions, or spirits, energies. And allowing your mind to reach out to vast distances to understand something earthly. I think you can use your spiritual perception, your spiritual capabilities, but to understand something mundane and to really uplift the idea of something, transform some mundane idea that you have or some mundane goal. Mundane sounds bad, it makes it sound boring. I just mean earthly, physically, 3D. And the sunflower snapping over, that's like death. Transformation is death. To see a material thing from a spiritual perspective is also a type of death. A death for that idea, but it's also a rebirth of that idea on a higher level and a more fructifying, fertile level. When a mundane idea can be seen from a spiritual higher perspective, it can be seen in more mundane ways. The spiritual idea transcends the mundane form, and you can see that spiritual idea in more mundane forms. And the one mundane form that you might have been stuck on will seem less important because you'll be like, oh, well, there's 100 other things that fulfill and manifest this same spiritual concept. And this one thing isn't super important for me. I can look over here and do that, or look over here and do that. And so turning your mind into like an antenna at this time and allowing different ideas to come to you. It's like, I think it was David Lynch who said ideas come to you like fish come to a fisherman. You just kind of let yourself sink deep into the ocean of consciousness and just wait for the little fish to float by, or maybe a big fish. You wait for the ideas to come, and it's like an antenna tuning into radio stations. So instead of trying to force an idea, we just watch them arrive from a vantage point of like an antenna or something like that. And I think you'll discover solutions instead of having to force a solution or create a solution. This here is about discovering a solution, and discovering a solution requires taking serendipitous opportunities, because discovery requires a childlike sense of wonder and just going out and doing stuff and being open to whatever appears in your periphery and just seeing what's out there and not having any preconceived ideas about it. So Taurus, I think that's where the Oracle and I are going to leave it today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I always appreciate you stopping by. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next time.